you're on.
All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, welcome to Establishing Yourself in the Media. I'm Mike Dodd. I'm from thatguywithglasses.com. I'm also with thisweekingeek.net. I've done work for CBC Radio, Much Music, MTV, Game Trailers, Screw Attack, everybody. And the idea behind this panel is more as to be a kind of a Q&A. I'll tell you my story, then we'll go back and forth about kind of getting involved in the media. Like I've been in, like I said, I've done all this big work. Has it paid off? Yeah, I've gone to big things out west. I went to Spike TV's Video Game Awards, which is pretty kick-ass. I've met Neil Patrick Harris, Tony Hawk, all these really kick-ass people. Although the guy from Thor's kind of a dick. I don't know, just he's a big, tall, scary man. But anyway, so I did that, and hopefully the idea is if you guys want to go into media, I'll get you kind of prepared for it. It is easy, it is fun, but it is such an aggressively competitive field, which really kind of sucks some of the fun out of it though, but don't let that discourage you, because if you really want to go out there and kick ass and be like Craig from Screw Attack, or James Rolfe, because people care about his opinion, or like Doug Walker. It's like I said, it's not that hard to get started, to get noticed. That's the trick. So how my training started, I went to Niagara College here in Ontario back in 2006. Now I originally went for television. I originally worked for Rogers Television. I was a technical director. It means I push buttons, I change what camera you see. And I thought that would be my career. And unfortunately, that wasn't so fulfilling. So I decided I wanted to go into radio after... Well, my first radio class didn't go exactly as I expected. I was very nervous, and I decided, hey, going to the bar for a couple shots of tequila is a wicked idea before class. So going on air, wonderful time. Blasted.
Oh, wow.
Drunk, and then the stereo broke. How radio works is you take CD carts, put the cart into the CD player, you play the song. Now, we're testing out new equipment, fancy stuff, computer touchscreen crap. It broke during my first shift, so we go from playing Green Day to friggin' Luther Vandross. Not a transition you can easily get out of the hole with. But I decided from then on, radio was damn fun. And because I was doing a radio show on my college station, I'm like, hey, I got credentials. I've seen people on TV say, man, I'm with the media, give me what I want. Okay. Got myself a Gmail account, because, sexychick69@hotmail.com is not likely to get free stuff from Microsoft. So, Mike J. Dodd, gmail.com, whatever. Email Microsoft. Hey, my name's Mike Dodd. I have a radio show on this college station. I want to talk to you. Okay, what do you want? Xbox 360? Here you go. What? So they started sending me stuff. And then I kept building the show up because I realized the more professional you were, the more cool crap you could start getting. So as the show built in production value over the course of my 3 years at Niagara, which I eventually transitioned out of television into full-time radio, the show got better and better. I started getting invited to events. There's an event in Toronto known as X09, 11, you get the idea. All the new Microsoft games are out there. You get to play whatever you want for however long you want. Sometimes you can take it home.
Nice.
So, going to these events, because I was with a college radio station. Holy crap. So, doing that, I kept doing the show after I left college. I then took a year of grad school to do public relations. And I just kept asking people for stuff, just saying, here's the show I represent. And eventually, as you keep building the show, your audience will grow with you, because odds are you're interested. And during that time, I got associated with ScrewAttack.com. And I was with ScrewAttack.com's Hard News, with Destin and Corey. They were the original Hard News team. And because I had background in television, they're like, okay, well, you're not a moron, and you're not going to look at the camera and derp. So go out, cover stories as you can, represent the outlet. And that involved more and more opportunities, where I got involved, like I said, Spike TV, events in New York, events in Chicago, Dallas. I was one of the first people in the world to go see the Ghostbusters video game.
Nice.
It was really cool. They invited me down to Terminal Reality in the studio. They had a guy dress up in a Ghostbuster outfit for me. And how they got the sound for the Ghostbusters in the game when they run. Guy in full proton pack jogging in the booth. It's not just Foley sound. So doing stuff like that just came from a simple college radio show. And when getting involved with Screw Attack, that means I got exposure on game trailers. So game trailers knew who I was. MTV started inviting me out to events. I went to the launch for Guitar Hero World Tour. I went to Cherrywood Studios in Toronto, same recording studio where 50 Cent worked, Rush, big bands in Canada and the US. And it just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. So eventually I left ScrewAttack.com and I got involved with that guy with the glasses.com. And then when Angry Joe got invited to the Spike TV Video Game Awards, so did me and Tom from the Game Heroes. So we covered that, and last week in my email, I got an invite this week. If it wasn't for this tonight, I would be at the Academy Awards in Los Angeles. Mind you, I'm be hanging with the African American Association. I don't know why. They just said, hey, do you want to come out and cover it? You can meet Danny Glover. Okay, sure. I wanted Sinbad, but okay. So anyway, yeah, and it's weird just how these opportunities snowball, and you get interview opportunities like Michael Madsen, the guy from Kill Bill, and Mr. Blonde from Reservoir Dogs want to talk to me. So if you're ambitious and you're willing to be consistent in the media, opportunities will knock on your door. Now, how I got the show started, like I said, it started out as a college radio station, but Niagara College was progressive in the fact that they would let us be podcasted. Podcasting, you all know what that is now. Back in 2006, it was just hitting the peak of popularity in terms of audio podcasting, video podcasting in the last 2 years. But anyway, we were allowed to distribute that. So our network grew to 50,000 listeners in like 2 weeks. We went to PodCamp Toronto, which is a huge conference at Ryerson University. You can come out and speak on social media. Me and my partner, Steve Snowball Sailor, walked into the room. They knew who we were. Weird. And because we kept the RSS feed so consistent, people were willing to talk with us. And that's the big thing about being involved in the media. If you're consistent, people will listen. And as we were, like, I don't know how many of you went to the Channel Awesome Q&A, at least a few of you did. One of the things we talked about producing the show, when you produce a show and you want to be unique on YouTube, Blip, or whatever, is if you're interesting, you'll be interested, and to have a unique opinion. So by doing that, when you put yourself out into the media, people will start to gravitate towards you. Inevitably, you'll get some people that hate your guts. You should see the death threats I get on a weekly basis.
Oh, lovely.
They're like, you're fat. I know. Literally. I'm reminded every time I look down. Anyway, so after that, I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out where else to go with this. I mean, once you start getting a show out more and more consistent, you can take risks. And what I mean by risks, like I said, I emailed Microsoft on a whim. They said okay. And that's one of the big things about the media is don't be afraid to ask for stuff. Because one of the things you can do is keep track of your listener stats. Looking at your website, how many hits you're getting, uniques, whatever. Or how I did it is if you can get yourself attached to a terrestrial radio outlet or a television outlet. This is actually not that hard. You know, there's opportunities with Rogers Television, for example, or Kojiko. Even Global Television via Shaw is accepting internships with their kind of local television stations now. By getting yourself associated with that outlet, and if you're willing to pitch it to a producer, they'll give you a shot. And if you're good, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to work every time, but if you're willing to ask a producer, hey, I have an idea for a video game segment, all I need is credentials and you to back me, like a producer. And if you just say, hey, I want to call up Microsoft, Sony, whatever, get me a game to review, and all you want to say is, hi, I'm Mike Dodd, I'm with Rogers Television Channel 53, whatever, odds are a PR company will listen to you, because a PR company wants to get exposure. They want to, it's what we call reach. And people want reach because you have an interesting opinion. And if you already have a built-in audience, they're going to throw you stuff no matter what. I mean, it's the courier's at my house. Blair, that's my wife over there. How many times is the courier at our house a day, typically? Like 3 or 4?
3 or 4.
We know the courier so well by name, we exchange Christmas cards.
Nice.
And
he opens the door and he pushes the box and says, hey, Mike, you've got a package.
Like, hey, Mike, Sony, Capcom, you've never dealt with these guys before. And here you go. And randomly, they send me porn. I still don't know why. Yeah,
every week.
Every week. I know what Riley Steele's doing. She's a lovely woman, by the way.
They put packing peanuts in it, and they're everywhere.
Oh, yeah, if you're involved in the media, be very conscious at recycling. I'll actually explain that a little bit more later. Once you start getting packages and stuff, as long as you're consistently putting out coverage, and coverage can be talking about it on a podcast, can be on your website, a link, a blog, or this is how I did it. Since I had the radio training, I called up a local radio station. Hey, I have this content. I don't expect to be paid. Because radio stations have no money. Despite what they tell you, there's no money in radio, which is tragic. But, if you say, I'm willing to produce it professionally, what do you want? I want the airplay, I want the plug for my website. Okay. The odds, if you pick the right station, they'll let you do it. I mean, I don't know what the radio stations are like here in Guelph, but where I came from originally when I started this, there was Hits 97.7, which is the CKTB, I think, which is the big rock radio station in Niagara. They reviewed video games. That would be a station that would talk to you. 610 CKTB, a news talk station, might, depending on your slant. And that kind of leads me into my next point. If you want to get involved in the media, it's so hard to differentiate your tone. For example, I consider myself like Howard Stern. I say what I want, when I want, and I don't care who kind of gets in the way of the shotgun blast.
Yep.
But on the flip side, when I represent CBC Radio or do stuff for Astral Radio Networks, when I work with them, I have to be very professional. I can still be kind of brash about it. Like saying, oh, that sucks. But I can't say this game is for pussy farts, for example. And that kind of determines how companies will deal with you, which I would almost recommend, because in my opinion, there are two types of video game people there's two types of media personalities. There's the journalists, and there's the personalities. And what I mean by that is specifically, think of it like sports, for example. This is the best example I can give you. Watch TSN or Sportsnet or whatever. You see the guys who sit at the sports desk and give you the news at the top of the hour, right? Those are journalists. You get the guys on, you ever heard of the show Off the Record, I think it is?
Yeah.
It's that guy sitting at the coffee table with 2 or 3 other guys. He's a commentator. His opinion is what people want. They don't want him to tell you that Michael Vick got traded to some team or whatever. You want his opinion on why Michael Vick's a douchebag. And that kind of determines your outlet's tone. Is if you're a journalist, are you going to report the news? Are you going to investigate the news? Or are you going to simply give your opinion on it? Now, that's another thing, too. You kind of have to pay your dues to give your opinion. Like, does your opinion matter? I mean, I think I've only became a pundit in probably the last 3 years, because when I did Screw Attack stuff for 3 years, I was reporting the news constantly. I'd go source stories. I did the Ghostbusters story. I'd go to Spike, whatever. I was reporting on news. But I discovered news is not something I so much enjoy reporting on. I rather like commentating on it. Like talking about stuff in the ESRB, stuff like that. Like, why does this rating for this game get this and this game gets a pass? I'd much rather share what I think, because I've earned that time in the trenches to be able to say that. So it's hard to decide, like I said early on, whether you want to be a commentator or a reporter. It's fine to do both. You can, in theory, do both. But I find if you pick one or the other, you're more respected. At least I think, anyway. I mean, I'm trying to think of examples in the video game media. Okay, an example of a really good commentator is Angry Joe. And I say this not just because he works with me on Blizzard Thumbs, because he breaks down a game. He says, okay, here's why it sucks, point A, point B, point C, yada, yada, yada. When Joe reports on the news, it's not so much... I would trust Destin Laguerre from IGN over Angry Joe, because Destin has that training and that background. Joe is asking very casual fan questions. He doesn't have any journalistic background training that I'm aware of. So, like I said, you can go Joe or Destin's route, but Destin also can commentate on the industry as well, if he wants to. But I think he's more comfortable being a commentator and reporting it, and he can do both roles. But he doesn't have to be exclusive to any one, whereas Joe is better a commentator than a reporter. I'm trying to think of where else to go with this. Any questions so far? Love talking to a dead room.
I'm just so enthralled.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, because one of the things I wanted to tell you guys is, yes, you.
You mentioned a while back where you want to represent something, and you just ask
media companies, and they'll most likely engage you. What if you don't have anything to? What if you're just starting off, say, starting a blog and you don't have a lot of hits?
How long, for example, how long would your blog have been around for?
For myself.
Yeah, let's just say this was hypothetical.
Yeah, I'd say maybe about 3 years, and not a lot of traffic. Nothing much to show for.
See, if you've been around for 3 years, you've shown that you're consistent, and I think you've earned the right to at least ask. Now, what you can do, this is a back doorway to get in. Email, see what they say. If they say, for example, let's just call your Jim. I'll call you Jim. Like, hey Jim, unfortunately at this time we cannot send you product because your numbers are not high enough, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Let's say you go out and buy product X anyway. Buy the product, review it anyway, send them the coverage, and go, hey Mr. So-and-so at Product X, I understand you couldn't send this to me, but I did want to do my due diligence. Here's my coverage from it anyway. This way they see, A, you are serious about doing it. 2, they can evaluate your tone. They can say, okay, this guy Jim, he knows what he's talking about, and it's good. Looking at his blog, well, at least he's consistent. And do this maybe 2 or 3 more times. I don't consider that selling out. I call that buying in. Because once you establish the relationship with the company, they say, okay, this guy's willing to do what it takes. Okay, cool. For example, I actually ran into this not too recently, actually. I lost all my contacts at 2K Games. They've all retired, they've moved on to different companies. I can tell you something about the PR industry in just a minute, but I lost all my contacts. I just assumed I could just call in and say, hey man, I need a copy of Darkness 2, can you hook me up? Nope. Shit. I still need to cover this because my station manager that I work with at Clear Channel, I'm supposed to have 2 games every week, get them done, whatever. I went out and bought the game myself and sent it into them anyway. Now I'm reestablishing that relationship with them. So I'm probably going to have to rebuild that. Mind you, they still have years of history seeing that I'm still involved with them. But because it's a new person at the company, I might as well be starting out day 1 again. So you can buy your way in, depending. It works, though, with different publishers and different things. I mean, getting a movie for review is so simple. Companies will just throw that at you. They don't care. I can, if you guys want to talk afterwards, I'll give you some names. And they'll, like I said, they will do things for it. Video game companies, it depends. I find the big 3 are really difficult. It's only in the last year Nintendo has come to a point with me where they're willing to send me stuff and let me keep it. That's weird too, because sometimes I'd like to say this is off the record, but I'm being recorded. So, from an unofficial source, certain companies expect you to send things back. And you don't get to keep it. And that's usually a pretty cool perk of the job, is you get to keep stuff. But depending on your outlet too, you may not be able to keep stuff too, because Joystick, for example, has a journalistic mandate of whatever they get for free, they have to give back to the public. If you're an independent journalist, you know what, that's a job perk. If you want to send it back or give it away or sell it to charity, you can do whatever you want. But I consider that a minor job perk. But yeah, just asking these companies, see what they say. You'd be really surprised, because if you're willing to be bold enough and say, hey, I do this, I've been doing this for 3 years, I'm just starting to get established, will you help me? And I find, this is how sometimes I do it. Call them. If you can call them, they're inevitably going to say, you know what, send me an email. But if you call, they can put a voice, they can put a personality. Like, one of the things I do in PR, I practice a very odd kind of PR. You guys have probably noticed I'm a bit of a salesman. Like, I'll look some of you guys in the eyes, I'll smile at some of you, I'm playing off you. And the reason that is, when people can read things into your voice, when you call someone on the phone, they're like, oh, this guy's okay, because they can hear you smiling. It's an old salesperson technique. But if you call and say, hey man, I really want to review this, I've been around for a couple of years, will you help me? Okay. Because you know what, they're willing to take a risk because you were nice. They're always going to ask for a follow-up email, but if it's professionally written, they'll remember you, especially if you say, hey, I just called you today. Yes, sir.
What if it's going to be a negative review?
You know what? That's the risk you take. I mean, now, that being said, I was given a piece of advice by an EGM editor years ago. You can still have a negative review. I mean, actually, there's a great example from The Simpsons. You guys remember when The Simpsons bought the monorail for Springfield?
Yeah.
And Lionel, or the lawyer guy, comes out, there's the truth, and there's the truth. And that's how you got to spin it. It's all in your tone. I mean, you can come out. I mean, if you want to come out and say, "Man, this game's a piece of shit," or you could say, "This game, unfortunately, does not live up to the high expectations that previous publishers may have." It's all in how you phrase it. It's not. I wouldn't call it downplaying. It's choosing your words carefully. I mean, it's like whenever Toronto loses, which is often, you'll notice it's how they word it in the news. Like, oh, it was a hard-fought loss or whatever. It's all in how you spin the story.
But if he's a new,
A new guy, I'm not saying sell out, because even I'm guilty of this. For the first time, this is something that's really hard to admit. I did something for Transformers, the game.
Oh dear.
Think of the first one what you will.
Oh dear.
I said it was wonderful. I lied to you. That game sucked. But because I was so nervous, I didn't know what to do. And then I eventually started getting more and more comfortable with being a part of the media. And I realized people want my opinion. People trust my opinion. So you have to be willing to give something a bad review. I mean, I'm not saying blast it to crap, because then people are less likely to trust you. In fact, for a long time, I was blackballed by Sony because I forgot a piece of mail. So let me to explain this story. I was going to review the PSP. The PSP was new hardware at this time. And to receive a package, because I was in college, right, I needed to have a piece of mail. Like, I don't live here year-round. Why would I get a power bill? Anyway, they wouldn't accept it. So eventually it got sent back. I got let go. And Sony said, don't talk to us. So it took me 3.5 years to rebuild this relationship. And I wanted to give the PSP a negative review, like, and it's still a wonderful platform, by the way. I think it was underappreciated during its time, by the way.
Very much.
I don't know. Like I said, you have to balance it. Like I said, don't think of it as selling out. You have to be honest with people. But if you think it's going to be overly negative, don't cover it. But if it's your first review, play it by ear. Derek.
To add to that, actually, could you tell the guitar story?
I hate you.
You could just say no.
But then I'd be an asshole. Okay,
You're an
so
asshole anyway, Mike.
okay, it's quite true. Quite a large one. Tell the truth. Yeah, the truth. Okay, so last year, do you guys remember a game called Power Gig Rise of the Sixth String?
No.
Good. Okay, so there was a game that was built. You're gonna learn to play real guitar. You're gonna be a rock god. You're gonna make Dave Grohl look like a pussy.
You mean Rocksmith?
Yeah, but that's actually legit. You can actually learn from that. But anyway, so Power Gig had this Hannah Montana guitar. And an interface that was worse than Guitar Hero. And you couldn't play it because it played like, what was that game? Rock Revolution, where the notes fell down like this as opposed like this. So if you read music upside down and drunk, it might make sense to you. So anyway, this game I played for an afternoon was shit. The PR company said, oh man, this game's awesome. This game will make you more attractive to the opposite sex and make women more fertile in your presence. Cool. Send me a copy. I played it. Oh boy, did I play it. I then called one of my PR friends in Texas. Like, hey, Aubrey, what's up? Hey, Mike, not much. So I played this game, and I have an opinion, I have an idea for a review, and I don't often do video reviews. So my plan was to take the guitar into a parking lot and smash it and then set it on fire. I was advised this was a bad idea. Yeah. In fact, what were these? Career-killing move. Okay, I like the company that sent me this, so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to smash the guitar, at least physically. So I then took to the stream, which I do an audio show, and I gave my opinion on this game, where I described it as the single worst experience I've had in my life. In fact, I'm pretty sure castration may in fact be more fun and is multiplayer. It was terrible. This game sucks. And you can still find it at EB for $199.99. There it will sit with Tony Hawk Ride. And it's just... But yeah, that's an example where I could have killed my career. I would have been really honest. Could have been really honest, but I decided to temper my anger and furious biblical rage by having a friend of mine come on the show, David, and he's like, okay, Mike, I play guitar, you want to learn to play guitar, maybe we can play off each other. And that's another thing, too. if you have a review and you're working on it, for example, our example of Jim. Let's say Jim wanted to review a movie. Bring someone in. This way you can play the straight man. And the review can be of a different tonality. It's all in how you play it. It's like I said, you don't have to sell out, but if you don't want to blast something down the tubes, you don't have to either. But occasionally, oh boy, is it fun.
Vampire Rain.
Shut up. There's another game that was paying. It's actually funny. PR companies like Microsoft, Sony, etc., some of the games they send out, they know are shit. Absolutely. And Vampire Rain is one of them.
Naughty Bear.
Oh, I'll get to that one in a moment.
Oh, lovely.
So companies send you these games, and they know they're going to get bad review scores. And you know how you can spot the shitty games long before it arrives in your Xbox 360 console, much to your, damage to your heart? What they hype up. Here's another good example. Do you guys remember a game came out 2 years ago called Dark Void?
Yeah.
Jetpack. It was supposed to be The Rocketeer.
Yeah.
They lied to you. What they hyped up in the press releases: award-winning new sci-fi franchise, brand new IP, soundtrack by Bear McCreary. Nothing about gameplay. Don't even mention Nolan North that Nathan Drake's in this game. They mention the soundtrack by the Battlestar Galactica guy. Okay, that's pretty cool. What's the game like? Well, the soundtrack's pretty cool. And it's really weird that PR companies know they're going to send you out crap. Vampire Rain was another one. I didn't receive a press release for this. Sometimes they get so limited copies of games, I'm pretty sure they send them to people that they know they hate. There was a game called Ninja Blade I didn't get a couple years ago. I played the demo on Xbox Live. Jesus, who designed this? And then there's Naughty Bear. Naughty Bear was supposed to be, in my opinion, the spiritual successor to Conker's Bad Fur Day.
That's what I was
which is an
thinking.
underappreciated classic, although the Xbox Live remake sucks.
Yeah.
So, Naughty Bear, you are a killer teddy bear. This game should be friggin' amazing. So for those of you that were present on July 6, 2009, this is the only game I've snapped in half on air.
Oh, lovely.
I played the game for 3.5 hours. I would have much rather spent my time, I don't know, watching paint dry. But it's the only game I snapped right in half. Crap. That's one of the few pieces of coverage I never sent out to a company. I still covered it. That's another thing too. You could do the coverage, just don't send it to them. They might not find it. And I know some of the PR people have a laugh at this too, but at the same time they have to do reports and do their jobs. Next question and or insult. Silence is deafening.
Yep.
And we just lost 2 people.
No. Well, you lost Vader. Don't worry. He'll come back stronger.
I don't know. I thought his girlfriend was hot. Anyway.
There we go.
Idol.
Yes, dear. I love you, Super Nintendo Chalmers.
When I grow up, I want to be a principal or a caterpillar.
But, yes, dear.
I actually do have a serious question about your show now.
Yes, sir.
What is it, about 2 months ago you interviewed the actor who played Captain Power?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think you're going to be able to get more celebrity guests like that, especially from retro shows?
Actually, you know what? I'm really glad you asked that, because there's a guy who works with my show, This Week in Geek, a guy called Mike Blanchard. And he's a bit of a weirdo, but he's a really good guy. He interviews so many retro people that he reminds me, because this past week he interviewed Lauren Lester, who is the original Robin from Batman and Batman the Animated Series.
Nice.
He's interviewed Tom Kenny, Lion-O. Let me see. I'm trying to think of something. He's the guy who broke the news that Maurice LaMarche was Mr. Freeze in Arkham City. So, yeah, I like getting interviews like that. I mean, I've interviewed Dan Milano, one of the head writers from Robot Chicken. Kyle A. Barrett, voice of Ryu. I'm trying to think of who else. I've interviewed Reiko Ellsworth, who was Michelle Dessler on 24 this past week. Michael Madsen, like I said, is expected. I've had opportunities to speak to Tamora Morrison, who's Jango Fett from Star Wars. Let me see. Man, I'm going through the list in my head. I've spoken to Will Wheaton. I've spoken to Blair. Help me out here. Who are some of the other people I've talked to? Yeah, Summer Glau from Terminator. There's like a lot of really cool people, and a lot of them are really approachable too. I mean, if you just email them, like if you have IMDb Pro, by the way, that's a wonderful tool. If you spend the $12 a month, And if you want to interview people, just email their. Odds are, once again, do the same approach with getting stuff for review. Call. You're going to have to email anyway. And the guests will let you know. Odds are. Now, I find animation actors are easy to approach because we've interviewed Maurice LaMarche. We've interviewed Billy West from Futurama. Sean Schemmel, who's Goku, who's like one of my good friends. And Kyle. And like I said, a lot of these people will be really approachable because a lot of people in Hollywood, they expect you to ask these really tough questions, and that's a weird thing. If you watch American coverage and Canadian coverage, watch Entertainment Tonight. Watch TMZ, and then watch Entertainment Tonight Canada. The difference in tone is light and day. I'm going to go in your face. Hey, man, how do you feel about Whitney Houston's death? How do you feel, man? Canadian. I understand Whitney has just passed away. How are you feeling? You see the difference in tone there. Because Americans are so afraid you're going to jump down their throat and ask personal questions. Like, when I first started doing interview emails, I had to say, I'm not going to ask anything personal or intrusive. I just want to say, hey, man, are you having fun with interviews? And like I said, you'd be surprised how many people will come to your door if you're known as an outlet that isn't an asshole, pretty much. And that's the thing, too. You guys have the advantage. Being in the Canadian media, you're already one up over some kid from Ohio because we're universally known as nice people anyway. So when they see your email from .ca, you may get a bit of a leg up. It's mostly a psychological advantage, but yeah, I mean it matters when you want to talk to these people, and that's the thing too with retro shows and retro games. You want to interview somebody from an older game, they're happy to talk about it. When I interviewed Tim Duggan from Captain Power, and I interviewed the guy Ron something, he was the DVD producer. Roger. They were so happy to hear that I was a fan and I wasn't just busting their chops. And if that DVD sells really well, there'll be a new Captain Power. That's exclusive.
Everyone go out and buy that DVD.
Yeah, seriously, that's exclusive news. Cool. I never told you. But they'll do it. And that's the thing, too. You'll get involved in certain projects, too, by just asking. There's people I know that have gotten jobs for famous musicians. I got a job working for a pretty big chiptune band as their publicist because I approached them and I was known as a nice guy. That's another thing, too. By being someone nice in the media, opportunities will come to you. I've worked as a publicist for Mega Ran. I represent Danimal from Arm Cannon. I've worked with Kyle Bear as his publicist. Opportunities will come to you. There is a lot of freelance work out there, too. Like I said, the pay in this job as an independent sucks. But with all the free crap you get, you can offset that cost. You'll make enough to live. But if you get attached to a larger outlet, like an IGN or an MTV or whatever, you'll live comfortable. Like I know Destin from IGN, he makes enough. He's good to go. Yet someone like Daniel Kaiser or Jeff Keighley, they make a lot more because they're in front of the camera. But yeah. Next, Alex.
Yes, I was wondering how to make a good resume or cover letter for this kind of business.
I'd say the best thing for a cover letter is have a very polite and professional tone, as you should anyway. Highlight your skills right out of the gate and who you can work with. For example, my cover letter and my email signature always says, "Good afternoon, my name is Michael Dodd. I'm a contributor with Clear Channel Radio Network, several radio chains in the U.S. and Canada. I also work with these following websites for web radio coverage." Immediately out of the gate, they know who you are. They know they can Google you. They can measure you. If you open with, "Hey, this is who I am," it's okay. And then from there on, like, are you talking about applying for a position too?
I guess, well...
Or just making an introduction to a company?
Both, I guess.
Yeah, if you open with your credentials and who you're with, they're more likely to listen to you. Because they're like, oh, he's not just some schlub. But even if you are just some schlub who just has a blog or something, if you're, like you said, willing to be open with it, they'll be very receptive to you. And just explain what you want. Like say, hey, I want to talk to so-and-so. I want to get this for review. Or I'd like to talk to you in terms of maybe a job shadow. Because that's another thing, too. That's something else I didn't even mention to you guys. You can call places like CTV or CH or Global and ask to job shadow. And job shadow might mean you might be following around a videographer.
You can't allow people to.
What?
It's okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyway. So anyway, right. So job shadowing, like I said, there's a lot you can actually learn from that too. And if you ask in an email or a cover letter, that may endear the outlet towards you because you're showing the interest, you're showing the initiative. I find in the media it's a lot of give. If you're willing to give, you will get a lot back. And the media, at least in my career, you get out of it exactly what you put in. I mean, like I said, I don't see necessarily a lot of financial reward, but the fact that I've got to travel all across North America to do really cool shit, to meet really cool people, and to handle movie props, to be involved in stuff I can't even legally talk about or they'll break my legs. It's really fun. And having open doors with media stations, like I said, offering my services to different radio outlets opens doors. Like I said, for you, Alex, I really recommend talk to television stations. Say, hey, I want to shadow one of your videographers for a day. And all you got to do is, hey, bring that tripod to me. They just may ask you to schlub gear for the day. And they will do wonderful things for you in return. And that's a media contact. Because that's another thing. If you can make it in the media, more so than any other industry, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it's a very small world, especially in PR. I can name about 20 publicists right now, and I've been in the industry for 5 years. I'm pretty sure there's like 100 publicists that work in the video game industry, that's it. And they change companies constantly. Like I was going to say earlier in this panel how I was going to talk about PR people. PR companies change people about every 2 to 3 years. You don't get stuck with one person for more than 3 years typically. You get known as a lifer, that's actually damaging to your career, which is really weird. Job security in PR is non-existent because you have to move around to get more skills, to get a better pay raise, to get an opportunity. And like I said, you can take advantage of that because if there's an outlet you don't like, just wait. He'll leave. That's what happened with Sony. But that being said, me and the guy did get along much later. I just got off on the wrong foot because I suck. But yeah, that's what I think. You can make friends. I mean, one trick I use too to establishing yourself in the media is be a person to these people. I'm friends with a number of these people on Facebook. And I took a very calculated risk. There was a woman whose name is Arn, and she used to represent Namco Bandai, which is the Tekken people, the Dragon Ball Z, whatever. Her grandmother died on Facebook one night about 2 years ago. And I decided, you know what, I really want to express my sincerity, I'm sorry for your loss. And I wrote her a very nice email and said, you know what, wherever she is now, she's out of pain. I'm sure she's fine wherever she is. And she wrote me back and said, thank you, Mike. And it was a lot longer than that. But after that, my relationship improved with that company. If you're willing to be human with some of these people, don't just view them as, hey, I want the new game. Talk to these people, email them, call them. They will reciprocate in many ways you don't expect. Like I said, I very rarely get special editions of games. Like I get the normal standard retail version. But some companies, because they like me, they'll go the extra mile. Hey, here's a special edition. Review it, take your time. Or here's a cool press kit. I mean, one of the weirder things I got, and you were talking about this before I started, was 2 years ago, Warner Brothers said, hey, are you going to be home tomorrow at around 11? Sure, why not? Okay, be home. Make sure someone's there to answer the door. Okay. So a guy came over with a pizza shaped like the Master Chief. Yeah, I'm like, okay. And there was another pizza box that had Halo Legends and an action figure in it. And the box said, here, relive the fight between the UNSC and the Covenant, but enjoy this hot meal on us. If you have any questions, give us a call at the office, blah, 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 blah. Nintendo has sent me DSi-shaped cakes and stuff like that. I've gotten... What other weird crap have we gotten? I've gotten fried worms before. That was pretty...
What?
Yeah, for a game called 999 or something. I can't remember. It was a weird DS game.
Invisible Ink.
Invisible Ink. For Alan Wake, which was really cool.
Nice.
They've gotten jackets, toys.
Well, we got heart-shaped candies.
Yeah, we got heart-shaped candies that called me a loser. Happy Valentine's Day. Or the weirdest thing I got, this was because I made a friend in the PR industry. Duke Nukem prank called me. 2 o'clock in the morning. Mike Dodd. Guess what? You suck. John? Mike? It was awesome.
That's awesome.
And then for my wedding, John St. John sent me a personalized greeting for our wedding. We played that for all of our people.
Nice.
And it's weird. Like I said, you can make friends in this area. Like I said, me and Kyle Bear just hung out upstairs and just played Street Fighter together. He sucks. You're Ryu. Come on, respect.
Everyone sucks in Street Fighter against you, Mike.
Yeah.
7-second win.
Speaking of which, we're waiting.
He'll get you
for that
next
match,
episode.
No mercy.
That's true. I still gotta bitch slap you.
Bring it on, buddy. Anytime, anywhere.
If I lose, this
They have
never happened.
nunchucks, man.
He's got the Asian powers. I fear him. Kelly!
What is your favorite part about being on Blistered Thumbs and or that guy with the glasses?
You know what? I work with some really talented people. And I've made some tremendous friends because of it. I mean, one of the coolest people that I met was a guy named Pat, and he's known as Cold Guy. I met him in the first year anniversary brawl. I also made friends with another guy called Sean Faust, and I talk with him. Another person, Angry Joe. Love talking with him. I think the best part is I work with really talented people. And being part of that guy with the glasses, you have such a huge support system in place. If there's a problem, you can... Benzai's probably awake, or Spoonie's probably on Skype. You can talk to these people and ask questions. And they'll help you out. And it's cool to be part of such a community that does so much good. The fact that they raise money for McDonald's House every year to help sick kids, the fact that they went to the U.S. Capitol Hill and fought SOPA, met with their actual representatives from each of their states. That's a pretty big deal, to be part of a force that can be reckoned with. So you've got the army at your back when you're with Tigwatig, and I think that's a really powerful thing. Not just because, like, hey, I have the internet behind me, what are you going to do? But you're part of something special, and it's definitely pride. And I don't know, I mean, I can honestly say, outside of This Week in Geek, it's a family I'm one of the most proud to be a part of. I'm glad I've met some really cool friends. I'm glad I've hung out with Doug Walker, who's let me do stuff for them. I'm glad I've had a chance to really hang out with Spoonie, or just sit up late at night and just talk with people like Lord Cat and all that. It's fun. It's cool. There's no other thing I can describe it. Oh, and this asshole. Well, the guy whose t-shirt just says shirt. That's amazing. You know what we should do? Just have something that says human or carbon-based life.
Let's see it.
force.
No, I had this made. This isn't something I bought.
My God, you're weird. I like
Hold
you.
it out so I can see it clearly
The
here.
rest of us assholes.
You have a
Nice.
top hat. I like you anyway.
It's like from Community, the human being.
Yeah, that's what you are. You're the human being from Community.
That's their mascot, is the human being.
I've only seen like 3 episodes.
See,
Not worth it.
Hey!
it's better than Big Bang Theory.
It is.
Did the temperature in the room just drop?
Yeah, I know. Get out of here,
That's
Mike.
why he put
Jeez.
his nunchucks back around his neck and left.
Hey, he has our room key.
I'm gonna choke a bitch. But yeah.
Nunchuck fight.
I mean, I guess overall, I mean, how much time do I got left? Holy shit. I got a lot of time left. I mean, ultimately, like I said, being involved in the media, it's really rewarding. I think independent media is the way to go, to freelance for yourself, because you set your own tone, you set your own hours, you report to no one but you, and you don't have to be a renegade asshole about it if you don't want to be. If you want to be a respectful reporter who just freelances, like I said, IGN has tons of freelancers. Question Toad.
My brother, he had written a script for a shitty movie in the style of like Mystery Science Theater, and he wrote the script in the English style of like Spoonie one, and he had found someone to like help him film and everything.
Yeah.
Once he's filmed it and edited it though, like where do you send those kinds of things?
Well, that depends. I mean, there's a guy you should check out. He runs a company called Troma Entertainment. His name is Lloyd Kaufman. Woo! And I love Uncle Lloyd. Love this guy. There's a series of books you need to check out. It's called Blank Your Own Damn Movie. The book your brother should be checking out is a book called Produce Your Own Damn Movie. Produce Your Own Damn Movie talks about digital distribution. Because we live in the era of YouTube, Blip, iTunes, your brother could just put his movie out to the winds and see what happens. Because he controls his own distribution, which means he controls 100% of what happens to that movie. A good example of this, I presume everyone here knows Kevin Smith. Red State was entirely done by him. He distributed it out however he wanted, which means he took it on the road and he independently financed it with no studio intervention. If your brother does that, he controls completely 100% what happens with it. And at least that way he retains creative control, marketing control. You're not paying some asswipe in Hollywood to give you a pie chart to say, maybe you should talk to 18-year-olds who enjoy My Little Pony and NASCAR. And that, because this way, like I say, you're doing your own guerrilla marketing, but ultimately you're saving money and you're getting to know your audience. And I think in this era of social media, if you're willing to be on Twitter, Facebook, Foursquare, GetGlue, whatever, if you're available via those outlets, you'll communicate with your audience, thus becoming a bigger media person. Like Lloyd Kaufman on Twitter never shuts the hell up, and he'll retweet you.
I just tweeted about you.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's crazy because people like Lloyd will do it. And another good example of someone who's taking control of it is from back out the classes is Brad Jones. He's doing the Cinema Snob movie, as far as I can tell, completely by himself and a small crew. But there's no studio backing involved. He's going to guerrilla market himself because he already has the built-in audience. Your brother's going to work hard to build his audience, but if it's crappy and it's entertaining, it'll get people's attention anyway. And that's not to say you couldn't send it to a Brad Jones or a James Rolfe or a Doug Walker and say, hey, dude, check it out.
It's a review, though. It's not like a movie.
Oh, well, then if it's like a review, see, that's the thing, though. Reviews are so hard to stick out because everybody wants to be the angry reviewer. Everyone wants to be the Spoonie or the Doug. You see so many imitators across YouTube and Blip. And to stick out, I really don't know what to tell you other than it's going to sound so cliched. Be unique. But if your brother's got the production values, he's already well ahead of the game. Half the people I see on Blip suck. There's a reason why I don't do video. Because my video equipment sucks. But my audio equipment is pro. So, I don't know. If he plays to his strengths, maybe he'll get noticed. But that's not to say he shouldn't blast YouTube. He shouldn't blast Twitter. He shouldn't blast Facebook. Build hype for yourself. Guerrilla marketing. And just, send it to the other critics. And if they like you, they may retweet you. Yo.
As a comment, send something your way.
Yeah, I said if I think it's awesome or sucks.
You know freaking everybody.
Yeah, it's weird. In Toronto, there's actually a sign, do you know Mike Dodd? Yeah, why? I don't know. Everybody knows me, I don't know why. And again, I'm hard to miss on the streets. But it's weird, though. It's 6 degrees of separation. Even in Hollywood, I don't know why I know Mel Gibson's agent, but I do. But yeah, like I say, just send it to people, and you never know. If people like it, they'll pick it up. Or if you use the right tags on YouTube, people will find it. And even if people troll you, and they're like, oh, you suck, I think Spoonie said it best, oh, let the gnashing of teeth continue. Please feed me with your hatred. It's true, their hatred makes you more powerful. If you have 1,000 dislikes, well, you're doing something, right? You're pissing someone off.
And look at
do it again.
Right there.
I was about to say, look at it this way, more views.
Exactly. Piss them off. Go ahead, because sometimes pissing people off works. In fact, like hell.
Don't intentionally make it bad just to
See, but no.
upset people.
There was a
It's all in the flair.
There was a guy on Kotaku this past week who went on YouTube blasting about Mass Effect 3. He's like, oh my god, Day 1 DLC, they're assholes.
Yeah, they've been going on about that for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and yet this guy, he's bitching. It's something negative, but he's getting the hits. I hope he's a YouTube partner now. Because goddamn, he's going to have some of that internet cheddar. God, never let me say that again. Dog. I'm representing. Yeah, in Guelph the Hood. It's about as hardcore as Acton. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, even if you can get picked up by these sites, that's negative attention. And honestly, any PR is good PR. I mean, I'm not saying you come out and say, hey, you know what, gas chambers were a great invention. Don't say that, oh my God. But if you say something controversial, you might hit a note with people. I mean, as much as people hate the irate gamer, he's an idiot, by the way.
Yeah.
You can definitely quote me on that one.
No one's afraid to insult the
Yeah,
Irish
he
gamer.
caught lightning in a bottle because he ripped off James Rolfe. And you know what? He has a following. A sad and tragic following, but a following.
Breakfast is ruined.
Exactly. Oh. But it's weird, though. I mean, if you're derivative, sometimes it works. I mean, like, your brother, he may be seen as a ripoff of Spoonie, but he may be, who knows, maybe that works. And it'd be really awesome because Spoonie has attained a level of fame I don't even think he really understands. I mean, he won Nationals 2009, most interesting. He beat one of the wrestlers, like John Cena or something. I don't know, some naked guy. That's all wrestling is. It's naked ballet dancing. It occasionally involves elbow drops. And chairs. But it's weird, though, because, like I said, if you build on the right kind of attention, you can just keep going. I mean, here's another good example. Toronto Batman originally started out as a shit Batman Says video. Now he's close to 1 million hits. He's been on CTV, Global, Newstalk 1010, AM 640. I'm interviewing him next week. All from one video.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my parents are dead. I can solve many crimes, but not this one. Beef jerky. God, I love that line. But yeah, it's crazy the fact that he built it off just one video. So hey, you never know. If you put out the content out there, it may catch.
You never know what'll go viral.
Yeah, or, you know, I mean, there are certain types. I mean, you don't want to end up as Angry German Kid, or that girl on YouTube who starts singing and freaks out every time she misses a note. She kind of looks like Miss Piggy, and her head was compacted like that.
Oh.
You don't want that kind of attention, because then you're going to end up on 4chan.
Oh, God.
And that's another thing, too. Respect 4chan. They will end you.
Oh,
Angry
I'm
German
familiar.
Kid was acting, by the way.
Well, he's an asshole. Fuck him.
You know the video with like the fat kid that's like on a couch going.
Yeah, or the other one, or like, oh my God, N64.
People ask me if I'm that kid.
You should play that shit up. You should say, yes, I am.
Fat power.
There you go. Are you single, ladies? Because, hey, you never know. Hi, Blair. How are you?
Irate.
I'm a whore. It's true.
I can give you things to throw at him. I have spare stuff in here.
She's going to beat me later.
Oh, let me finish it.
And not in the good way.
But, yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you produce content out there, people are going to notice. If you produce content and you hit it big on YouTube, people have gotten careers out of that. Like, people get, like, Destin was on YouTube for years. And he got picked up by, like, Screw Attack.
And as much as I hate to reference him, Fred.
Yeah. Awesome.
3 movies and a TV show. What the actual hell?
Thanks, baby.
Oh, headshot.
That was a kill shot right there.
Kill shot, kill shot.
On the side, if I was a zombie, I wouldn't be dead because you hit me. Oh, God. Misfire! It'll be off if it sticks to my glasses. That's what I'm really hoping.
I don't think they're the ones that stick.
White men can't shoot.
I don't think they're the ones that stick.
Come on, Whitey.
No, here. Give it here. I know what the problem is.
Yeah.
Pull the trigger now!
Oh, dear. I am in terror.
Oh.
Perhaps I spoke too soon.
Wait, what's that?
Gonna hit him
All right,
something.
pass it along. Everyone gets a shot at Mike.
Oh!
Oh, it went crooked.
I love how my panel's serious. I want to teach you guys to get a job. Let's start shooting Nerf guns at the fat kid.
It's funny because there's a Nerf gun modding panel here too.
Yeah.
Well, we started early. I hope you're happy.
This one you.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I hope I've at least answered some questions, been entertaining, or pulled stuff out of my ass where you're thinking, you know, maybe he was telling the truth, maybe. Maybe I'll call up Sony tomorrow and see what they'll give me. Other than attitude.
I'm gonna take one more shot.
Awesome, thank you. Okay.
Oh, that is not a risk you want to take.
Bad plan.
Parried.
Can you imagine what happened?
It'll be horrible.
Just imagine what you have to tell the ambulance.
Yeah. You know what? I've had stranger objects in my mouth.
wouldn't be telling them much of anything.
Yeah,
I can't kill channel awesome people because then it involves explaining myself to Holly, and that terrifies me.
It very well should.
Terrifying.
She'll eat you.
Yeah.
Here, remember. One more and then just.
Not in the good way.
But
You'd like
She's
it.
the dead mother.
yeah, pretty much. She keeps us all in line with whips, chains, and tasers. We respect the Holly. But yeah, like I said, guys, I really hope I've answered some questions.
There we go. Very serious.
Rage and anger. Anyway, questions, comments, your mother's phone numbers, I'll take either one.
Sorry, Mike, I missed your 5-minute warning, but it's time to wrap it up.
Perfect timing.
It's shirtless o'clock! Sorry.
I apologize.
No, you don't. Don't lie to me.
If you don't laugh, I will cover it with belly dancing.
So yes, you guys should all go to Kyle Hebert's panel because he is awesome.
I'm
That's
following you there.
How much time do I have to kill?
5 minutes.
8:30. That's when his panel starts.
I said, hey, what you got? No, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
Oh yeah. Kyle's thing starts at
Cool.
9.
I have an hour. So, do you want to build some C4? Hey, who just texted? Oh, Jesus!
Block it with your iPhone.
Where?
Yeah, well, I already did that.
Ow! That almost went up my nose! You just picked my nose with a Nerf. Have fun picking that up.
Oh, yeah.
We're like pulling it out.
Oh.
Tally ho!
That one's poison tipped.
Otherwise, I'll stand in awesome.
I can't promise you won't get shot in that position. No.
It's like that one will be poison tipped.